Hello, my name's Michael Keneally, and in this add-on video to my January 2021 Star Wheel Astrology and Healing newsletter, I look at the vast meaning of the Pluto-Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and the Pluto return of the USA. This is rare, it's so big, it's explosive. However we handle it, it's totally life-changing. Positively, this is rebirth and seizing our light. What are these energies that are colliding within the sign of Vedic Capricorn at this time that Pluto has just entered Vedic Capricorn to join Saturn and Jupiter already there? Basically, Pluto is an explosive power energy that forces us to look into our unconscious and buried material. And if we can rise to the occasion, Pluto offers us the chance to arise to our full and proper power, or to ignore our power and stuff it down into our unconscious. Key myths associated with the understanding of Pluto and of this time are Persephone, her journey to the underworld where she became queen to rule alongside Pluto, and also the Babylonian myth of Ishtar, also known as Inanna, and Ishtar's descent into the underworld, into utter grief and bereftness, and yet how she arose out of that, not just the goddess of the earth, which she was before her journey, but the goddess of love as well. So we also have, together with Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn. Well, Jupiter amplifies the Pluto explosion. In some settings, this will mean plutocracy seizing its huge place amid societal changes. Although it has to be noted that just at this time that Jupiter is in Vedic Capricorn, Jupiter is so very weak, and in my last month's newsletter I showed the dignity graphs and the Rashi of Ashta's table, which showed how weak Jupiter is in Vedic Capricorn, and indeed how Jupiter gives and gives and gives to Saturn at this time, but Saturn just takes and takes and takes. Big stuff, so needed to be understood. And do absolutely note that economic recession will come at this time of Jupiter transiting Capricorn. The last time Jupiter entered Vedic Capricorn was 12 years ago in 2008. What happened then? Well, here in Ireland, the stupid Celtic tiger bubble burst, and there was recession, of course, in other countries too. That will happen again now in 2021 and 2022. It has to be prepared for and understood. And another layer of meaning of Jupiter being in Capricorn and indeed conjoining with Saturn means that social structures could well get vaster and more entrenched, the negative side of Saturn. And can Jupiter stand up to that? This is the battle of the giants time now. Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn. So at the personal level, you need to note what house in your Vedic birth chart Capricorn is, so you can determine the life area that this mega huge conjunction is operating in. What area of your life will especially receive the huge impact of Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn? Obviously you can get a reading from me. Jupiter entered Vedic Capricorn on November the 20th and thus has had little strength since. Saturn is in Vedic Capricorn through to, for the sign he rules. And so he's super strong in his demands now for consolidation, hard work and tying up loose ends. Up to September 2020, Jupiter has long been dominant in the heavens. Now, make no mistake, Saturn has taken over. Saturn will be long dominant in the heavens. And I give the sort of dates and degrees of these various Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto transits in the blog. I also want to mention in this blog the implications of the Pluto return for the USA. First of all, let me say that Saturn has been transiting over Pluto in the birth chart of the USA all 2020. And this has been a brutal experience. Saturnian oppression versus Plutonian freedom seeking and wound surfacing, ideally for healing. But the other thing to bear in mind is that Pluto is closing on natal Pluto in the chart for the USA. And the first exact hit when Pluto of the heavens is exactly on top of Pluto in the birth chart of the USA is April 2023. It needs to be realised that darkness will be rising to be dealt with in the USA. And this will have many dimensions. It presumably includes treatment of First Nation peoples from the time of colonisation. Dark tendencies, whatever was left over negatively from the US rebellion against the evils of British colonial empire rule and other wars, Civil War, Vietnam, these will all have to be dealt with as this Pluto return becomes more and more exact. It will encompass characteristics that are in maybe what could be called the unconsciously accepted character of the USA. All countries sort of have their national character, and there are traits and patterns in the national character of the USA that the US citizens will have to look at these times. Some in the USA will want to lead and dominate in this darkness. But this, and this is so important, this will have the effect that many in the USA will want to embrace and will be pushed to embrace the light, possibly even in horrified reaction to the rise of the dark. Remember, our shadow is where we often push down and don't admit our darkness. But remember, our shadow is also where our greatness can be stuffed. Perhaps our mum and dad didn't allow expression of the greatness of who we are. And at this time of the Pluto return of the USA, the same is happening. The true spiritual greatness of the USA could be more and better encompassed at this time of the Pluto return. So if you look at the accompanying blog, you'll see the next question is, well, how do we cope individually with the Saturn-Pluto-Jupiter conjunction? So what house is it in your chart? What life area? So just to sort of show you how it's done, well, Capricorn is my 7th house of marriage, and I do believe there's a sort of greater oneness and cooperative effort and goal sharing and maturation there with my wife. But you also have to look at where Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto are in the birth chart. Saturn is in my 2nd house of voice, and I do feel I've come more into my own authentic voice during this powerful gathering transit of Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. Saturn also rules my 8th house of the occult, and my vision work has greatly increased, indeed fed by Neptune in my 8th house at this time. So you can do the same for yourself. This is huge. The last time these three were all in one sign together was 1145 and 1146, when unfortunately it went all rather wrong because the then Pope declared a crusade and it didn't turn out well. Let's hope as individuals we can do better, because this is unique. It is big, big, big. Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. Indeed, as the other parts to my January 2021 newsletter show, with other huge things going on at the same time. My goodness, what a start to 2021. So read the blog. See what you make of the impact of Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto now in your life. Please realise that at the personal level, this is rebirth. This is the seizing of our light. This is the arising out of our prison walls, imposed on us by others, imposed on us by society, imposed on us by ourselves. Also look at the dasha you're in. The dashas are the unique and supremely powerful Vedic predictive periods. They will provide a huge clue for how these times will manifest for you. So remember, you can liken Pluto to atomic explosion and descent into the shadow for rebirth. You can liken Saturn negatively to your prison walls, positively to your needed structures, strategies and hard work. Cooperate with this at the personal level. Cooperate with this at the national level. If we don't, and Saturn wins, we live on like robots and we retreat into our shell. If the dark side of Pluto wins, there is darkness rampant and war. But if we can just perceive the bits in the jigsaw and meet the planetary energies and understand them and embrace them and manifest them, then it is rebirth, the seizing of our light. Have a reading from me. Go to my Star Wheel Astrology buy page. I'd be very glad to help you through this. Thank you.